make sure you listen to this because it has to do with recruiting, employment, resumes.
Unemployed,
Unemployed.
which is the topic we've been covering a
A
little
lot.
bit here and there lately, right?
Yeah, every so often.
Yeah. Yep.
We get it in our broadcast. So, Michelle, make the introductions of our very special guest.
So, listeners, this morning we have with us a wonderful lady from Accurate Staffing. Angela Roberge is the president of Accurate Staffing, and Accurate Staffing provides temporary to permanent, as well as direct placement of personnel. From general laborers, tradesmen, IT, manufacturing, engineering, administrators, human resources, and everything in between, we can meet your staffing needs. Or Accurate Staffing can meet your staffing needs. Now, Accurate Staffing primarily focuses on IT, manufacturing, and engineering. So with that, I am going to turn you over to Angela Roberge, president of Accurate Staffing. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Glennis.
Good
Thank
morning,
you for inviting
Angela.
me.
We're excited about this because this is a time, no matter what the statistics say out there, we still are very deep in unemployment.
Yeah, the statistics say 4.7 last week. That's a nice low, but you always have to add on about 3% because some people have aged out of the system of tracking.
That's right.
Still high.
Who stopped looking.
Yeah.
So they're out of the system altogether. So our listeners need to understand that, right,
Yes,
Angela? That
absolutely.
It's 4% sounds wonderful, and we're coming out of this, but we're not.
No.
We're not. So how can you help the 60 or the 96% who are still out there looking for work, or there's people out there 2 years out of work? How can you help them?
How can I help them? I say by helping yourself. First of all, what you want to do is you want to make sure that while you're still looking, and if you're not looking, you should volunteer. And by that, I mean, think about what your strengths are, think about what your skill sets are, and volunteer. That is credible work, and that is stuff that you can put on your resume. So if you're a tech writer and you're unemployed, that's an easy one. Go ahead and find some kind of group, charitable organization that you have an interest in. Present yourself to them and say, "Hey, I'd like to help you out. I can blog for you. I can do some of your ads. I can do whatever." That in itself is gold on your resume. So you can put that down. As a matter of fact, one of our candidates that was one of our volunteers in the High Hopes Foundation at the time, I was president, and I had also been presenting at an unemployment networking association. And she came up to me and she said, "Geez, it's been 9 months." And I said, "Well, you know what? I have nothing on my books as far as recs for a position as this, a tech writer. Why don't you come and do some blogging for us and help us with some of our editing?" That was the key to her finding her job. Her future employer brought her in for the interview and said, "Talk to me about High Hopes." That was the first thing. And he said, "That's what brought you in here." Exactly.
See?
Help yourself.
The volunteer, big on volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
Always have been, and I encourage the kids to do this because it is the only way to get a hands-on experience in something that maybe you don't even have the experience on. See, this is, do you agree, Angela, that the people should not be specific about, "Oh, well, I can only do tech writing"? Well, you don't have to write technically, but how do you interact with other skills that you might have as far, instead of being specific to tech writing?
I'm a firm believer that you should present yourself and be open. Just be open to what it is, what the needs are. And when you give, you get. So
Right.
that's the bottom line.
That's right.
And it'll come to you. Be genuine about it and go with an open heart and a happy heart, and it'll come back to you.
Oh, yes, it does. It comes back to you twofold. Right, Michelle?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer as well. I actually was on the board of High Hopes with Angela, and It's just amazing to have an opportunity to do and give your time. Sure, I put it on my resume, but, there's so much more to it than just putting it on your resume. And when you're unemployed, sometimes you get a little down. Volunteering lifts you up.
Absolutely.
And it's getting you out there. It's
Yep.
work. It's being with people, because you can tend to, stay behind a desk at home and,
Hibernate, wait for the email
waiting
to come
for
in.
it to come in.
Yeah. It's
You need
crazy.
to interact with people
Absolutely.
to keep your everything going and
Absolutely.
up.
Absolutely.
Because it is discouraging. I've been there.
Yeah. It'll get in your head.
It does. And it comes across, say you do nail that interview.
Yeah.
Your desperation does come across.
Yeah. It's subtle, but it does.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about, where does accurate staffing come in these types of situations? So you get somebody who's been unemployed for a long time. Tell me about accurate staffing and your recruiting process, as well as, you do direct placement, you do temporary, temp to perm. Let's talk a little bit about that, just to have some understanding and share some hope for some of those people out there that have been looking for a long time.
Okay, I'll talk for two scenarios. One is, as Michelle said, I place temporary to perm, and direct placement. I receive calls from the client, the company, requesting individuals. It's at that time that I place the position on several media formats, everything from free to paid to paid advertising for these positions. If I don't have somebody that's already in my database, I don't solicit for positions that are not in my book of business, because I have the deepest respect for the candidate, the individual who's looking for the job. I don't advertise for positions that I don't have. I don't want false hope. Having said that, if you are unemployed and you want to send your resume to me in hopes that, there'd be a match later on down the road, that's a thing of beauty. I entertain those individuals in my office, not in an entertainment way, but I bring them in. I knew Michelle would pick up on that. I have them come in. We go over resumes. We talk about those soft skills that need to be fluffed up a bit, and talk about where it is that they want to go. I'm a firm believer in networking, both as a individual and as a business person. So I have a lot of contacts, and even though I don't have a rec, sometimes when someone comes in and says, "Geez, I'm looking," I know enough people that I can approach them and say, "Hey, listen, someone came into my office, and this is the skill set that they have. Is there something that you could use?" And I can sell you. So that's where the word headhunters and pimping you out comes in. We take that very, very lightly.
Glynis is very happy to hear that word, headhunters.
Headhunters, I use it a lot with you.
Yes,
I
you
use
do.
it a lot with you, because it's funny. I thought I was under the impression that Angela, does kind of the same thing you're doing. I thought she was a recruiter, helping HR, recruit for companies. And I kept calling her a headhunter recruiter, and she's like, No, that is not what I do. That is what you do.
Yeah,
Companies will go to you.
Correct. I don't take offense to the term headhunter, because I'm not, and it can't touch me.
But that's what it is. That's the old adage.
That's what it is.
That's
and you
our
know what?
generation.
And it's not only a generation, but it's the recruiting industry has had such a bad rap, and still continues to do so, because there are some that, like I tell Michelle, there are individuals, and she knows because she's been in the business. They just throw resumes to their clients. It's spaghetti hitting the wall. Whatever sticks. And those are the individuals that have to meet their numbers to hit, obviously to hit their numbers, but to make their money, because they're so they got such high overhead. and they have a different business model. Mine's not about that. Mine's about the relationship. Mine's making somebody that's unemployed and or looking for a job, doing that match to that client and having it be a win-win.
You work with a lot of unemployed. They don't have money because they haven't have a job. Mm-hmm. How do you get paid?
I am paid by the client.
Yeah, see.
By the company. However, if you come in, you want to have your resume redone or created and go over some interviewing skills, I will charge a very nominal fee on that. But I do not charge the candidate for placement.
Do you have coaching?
Yes, that's what I do.
You do coaching.
Yep.
So on that note, I'm getting Michelle has given me the breaking thing. Break. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll come back talking. We're talking with Angela Roberge from Accurate Staffing, and Michelle and I, HR Synergy. We will be back in a moment to talk about headhunters.
Great.
Welcome back to the pod, my pod. I'm Glynis, and you have been listening or just joining us to Michelle Gray, HR Synergy LLC, and our very lovely guest, Angela Roberge from Accurate Staffing. And we were talking unemployment, resumes, coaching. Tell us a little bit about what do you do at Accurate Staffing to help. Let's start with I'm unemployed, have been for a year, 2 years, going on 18 months, okay? I'm getting desperate. I've exhausted everything. I can't send out my resume anymore. I'm hitting a wall. I've hit a wall. I need help. Can you help me find a job?
Sure. Well, I'll do my best. But my first thing I'm going to ask you is, again, before the break, we talked about volunteering, but I'm also going to ask, I'm going to want to see your resume. What does that look like? I'm going to ask you, what do you think is the problem? If you're not getting any response to your resume, it's a problem. Are you hitting all of the criteria that they're looking for in that job description?
Well, if I'm sending my resume out, let's do a little role playing here. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm the unemployed. I keep sending my resume out. It's going to a P.O. box or it's going to an email that I have no idea who's seeing it. What do I do to make my resume stand out?
You need to take initiative. First of all, you need to make sure that if you're going from a placing an ad placement, you need to make sure that those key words that they're looking for in that job description that they've put out there are embedded in your resume. So, for instance, if they're looking for accounts payable, accounts receivable, you have to make sure that those words are embedded in your resume. You have to give them what they want. Is your resume matching up? One resume does not fit all.
So I see several different ads. I know nothing about accounts payable, but I do know accounts receivable. I've done that for years.
Okay.
So it's an easy transition to go over to payables. They're looking for an accounts payable manager. Mm-hmm. Do I change my resume just to please this job description?
You're going to change your resume to please every job description, but you're not going to lie.
Right? Okay, this is where, right? This is where the labor and,
You're not going to lie. And you're also...
Not even a little white? I did kind of do accounts receivable.
Don't put it down unless you've done it. It's not good for you. You're wasting your time. You're wasting the company's time or whoever it is that's hiring you.
And you could get fired pretty quickly, just saying.
Yeah, and if I'm going to place you and you've lied to me, that's not going to make things any better.
So sticking with the resume.
Correct.
What do I do?
What do you do?
Doesn't seem. Maybe it's because I haven't had somebody look at my resume in a very long time, because I've had a job for 15 years doing the same thing.
Much like business owners should be looking at their business plan, at least on a quarterly basis at a very minimum, you as a employee should be, as you go along, half a year or so, when you acquire new skills, make sure that you're keeping a running list of what that is and keep it updated. It's going to serve you well when the panic hits.
How should resumes are changing. There's now resumes, you can make a website of a resume, a free website.
Yep.
And it tells you all about you, especially if I'm into the computer digital marketing type of thing. What do I do? I'm at a loss. I'm stuck with this resume because I just don't think it's grabbing somebody's attention. What would grab you?
Again, it's what I said at the beginning of this break is that those keywords have to be in there, because most companies are taking in these resumes over the obviously email, and they're parsing them to their database, and the database has the job description, and what it is doing is looking for those keywords, and it's putting it either in the yes pile or the no pile. So you have to really have to play to that ad, and you have to make sure that those words are being embedded in there, and you got to suck it up, baby. You got to change up your resume for every job. No lies.
And cover letter?
Should
every resume have a cover letter?
There's the school of thought that's 50-50. Some look at it, some don't. I always say err on the side of safety. Put that cover letter in there. Make sure that your cover letter is 3 paragraphs and not any longer. First paragraph being an introduction where you found the ad and that you're applying for. Second part of that that letter is all about you and how your skill set applies to that position, and how again, throw in those buzzwords that they're looking for, that criteria, so that you've got 2 places now that those words are hitting, so it's giving you more exposure to the company. And then the closing is that you're looking forward to hearing from them. If you don't hear from them by in a week, that you would be following up with a phone call. Now, when you said that it's being the ads are to no one, that it's to HR or whatever, show some initiative. Call the company, get the operator, and find out who is HR. I'm looking at an ad. I'm not looking to talk to them, but I'm just would like to know their name so I can make this a little more personal. That makes that's puts you up above.
So
yes,
it worked. It worked. I got the interview, but I didn't get the face-to-face interview. They want a phone interview.
Great.
What happens? What do I do next? How do I get to, what do I say to make me stand out on this phone interview? Because I'm getting closer.
You want to do some aesthetic things. First of all, you want to make sure that when you're on the phone, you're smiling, because when you smile, your voice changes up. You want to listen. You want to listen to what the question is. You want to calm yourself down before you get that call. It's going to throw you a bit. Make sure it's quiet. Make sure you're smiling. Make sure you take some deep breaths in between. You listen, and you answer just to what they want, and not go down a road of spewing all that you know, because quite frankly, you're going to turn them off.
I passed the phone interview.
Sweet.
They called me back. They want to see me. They want to meet me. How should I dress? It is the position is for a technical laborer.
Technical laborer.
In the manufacturing industry.
Okay. You want to go in, first of all, you want to find out all you can about this company. I always say to my candidates, do a drive-by and go at lunchtime, go at coming in or leaving, in the beginning of the day or the end of the day. Find out what they're wearing. What are they looking like? And you want to go 2 steps above for the first interview. So if you see them in jeans, sneakers, that kind of thing, you're going in with khakis, you're going in with a moderate dress shoe, and you're going in with a decent Oxford shirt.
I'm a male.
Yeah.
Tie?
I would say a tie would go well. They're gonna. Thing is once you get to that interview, they're gonna say, "Oh, we don't dress like this," and you say, "Well, it's I just wanted to show you some respect." That's what that is.
Ooh. Because that has happened.
Yes,
that has happened.
Oh, yes.
They'll say, "Well, we're a little business casual."
Yeah. Say, okay, great, good to know.
But what happens if I show up in a 3-piece suit?
I haven't had that happen. Yeah,
In a laborer.
Haven't
Okay.
had that happen.
Well, I'm an accounting manager.
You're coming in with a suit and a tie.
But it's still a Okay.
You're still coming in with a suit and tie. Doesn't need to be 3-piece, but you're going in as a suit and tie.
Suit and tie.
Yep. Respect.
They liked what they saw. We had a fabulous conversation. It was more conversational than it was interviewing. They wanted to know about me, what I did, why have I not been in the job market for the past 2 years? What did I do for the past 2 years?
Mm-hmm. What have you done?
Looking for jobs.
Okay, so this is where I say volunteer. Put it in there in volunteering. And if you think that if you go from, if you're finding, Michelle, maybe you can agree with me, if you haven't had any luck for the past 3 months on finding something in your position, I always like to see a little bit of initiative and somebody who doesn't feel as though any other job is beneath them, get a job. Go work at McDonald's, go someplace else, make sure you're volunteering. It doesn't need to be full time, but make sure that you show that that something isn't beneath you.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think it's important to take that initiative, as Angela said, and not just sit around and wait for the right job, because that could take quite some time. So what are you going to do in the meantime to help support yourself, your family, your mental health?
Mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. And the thing is while you're out there, it's always networking.
Correct.
You're at McDonald's or whatever, and you just see somebody that's there, looking like they're at a company that, you can see a badge or something. Say, hey, I'm looking for whatever. I'm doing this in between. And yeah, it's good. It's good for your head. Keep your head in the game,
And a lot of people have done this, my husband included. I mean, you got to do it when you've got a mortgage and you've got kids in college and you've got all sorts of things that you never had to even think about.
Right.
Suddenly you're unemployed and, well, Home Depot, it's not below me.
No, it's not. And as a recruiter, when I see that and they come in, they say, oh, well, I didn't do this. And I look and I shake their hand and I say, good for you. Good for you. You just didn't, throw in the towel and lay on the couch and, go on welfare. Thank you.
And that happens. My husband, he wouldn't take the unemployment benefits. I'm like, hello? And how do you think we're going to keep the mortgage going? People are out there who have a lot of pride.
Yes, pride is a good thing.
Pride is a very good thing. So that means you're going to do something to nail these interviews.
Help yourself.
Okay, so I've passed the first interview.
Can I just say, let's not lie about volunteering either.
No,
Oh, well,
Okay.
that's a good point.
Exactly.
Because that's a really bad idea, because I can assure you,
Yeah, comes back.
if it's not your recruiter who's checking those references, the employer is going to check with the volunteer for that gap.
Oh, yeah.
So don't lie.
Thank you, Michelle.
That is you know what? That's a very good point. There we go. If you're going to lie about volunteering, if you're going to stretch the truth a bit about what you did, people
Maybe
find
that's
out.
why you don't have a job.
Could be.
Duh! But you know, I look at people, and Angela, I say all the time, you don't have it. Why? I mean, I don't believe there's a job for everybody.
Yeah.
If you have to work at McDonald's, you work at McDonald's.
Correct.
All right, so I'm working at McDonald's part-time just to keep I got to support a family. I made it to the second interview. Now they want me to meet the accounting manager. And they have about 4 people they want me to meet.
Nice.
Good thing?
Awesome thing. You continue to do what you're doing really well. You said that the first interview was just more to get to know you. That was an interview, and whether you know it or not, they were doing some behavioral assessments on you and asking questions to see what next in the context of which, in the essence of who you are. And that's important for company culture and for the department prior to the responsibilities and the job duties. We're getting a sign here that we've got to go to break.
Another break? I can't believe this. With George being not in here, we are kept on a side. We were going to go to another break. You are listening to Glynis and Michelle on 2 G's in a Pod. We are with Angela from Accurate Staffing. We will be right back to talk about this interview we're nailing.
Man, that's a sweet shot. Who did your photos for that company event?
Well, now that you mention it, it was SweetShot.
What?
Yep, SweetShotPhotography.com. They're great. We really wanted candid shots of the event that looked professional, and SweetShotPhotography.com really delivered. I highly recommend them. I used them for my wedding, too.
Sweet. How do I get in touch with them?
Go on their website, SweetShotPhotography.com.
Hang on, I don't have a pen. Okay, I'm ready.
SweetShotPhotography.com.
Sweet.
SweetShotPhotography.com. Capturing the moments you create.
Welcome back. You have been listening to the 2 G's in a Pod with Michelle and Glynis. And I am Glynis, speaking with Angela from the Accurate Staffing. And we were talking about steps to get a job and resumes. So I went to you, Angela. We're doing a little bit of role playing here, right, Michelle?
Correct.
I went to Angela because she is a recruiter. Accurate Staffing. There was a position in your job description that seems to fit me. So Angela has taken me. She's coached me along. She helped me to get to the second interview, which is now with 4 different people in the company that she had the position for. What do I do? I'm nervous, Angela. What do I do now?
Okay, you continue. No need to be worried. We've communicated all through the process. On the front end, I coached you on what the company culture was, who the individuals you were going to be meeting with, what their expectation was. So you're pretty much, you're good. You're good. You have, as you know, you've gotten there because I've coached you in that at the end of each interviewing process, you've written a handwritten note thanking whoever it was that you were speaking with. That sets you apart from all the other candidates. They've, realized that you're a person of integrity and that you certainly are capable of doing the job. My next piece of advice to candidates at this point is that they are interested. Again, listen. Give them the answer that they need. They don't want to. If you keep talking, that's a sure sign that you're desperate, and you don't want to look desperate because an interview is also an opportunity for you to interview the company. You want to make sure that you have done all your homework on this company. I say to the candidate during the interview process, all your questions are going to be answered relative to the position and what you're going to do. I've asked you not to speak about money because I'm the one negotiating that factor as well as benefits. Then you will, with your research on the company, you're going to want to come up with some really good questions. And it's not relative to your job, but it's relative to the company, where the growth is at, what's the new products that are coming up, that kind of thing. That shows that you have, that you're capable of doing the research, for one. And two is that you care about the longevity of the company and your position in there. So at the end of the interview, because this more times than not is going to be the last interview for the position that we're talking about, as an accounts payable or accounts receivable individual, is they're going to ask you at the end, so Glennis, do you have any questions?
I hate that.
Oh, because
that's the worst.
so now you're prepared because you've done your research and I've told you to do so. So you've got at least 3 questions in your bag. So you're going to open up your portfolio and you're going to say, yeah, I do, and you're going to start asking the questions that are relative to the growth of the company and the company and its competitors.
So it is okay to bring a portfolio, open it up. Oh, yes, I do have. As a matter of fact, I do have questions I have for you.
That just shows great initiative, and that just shows intelligence. So that's a thing of beauty. So when you've done all that and they've answered those questions, the last thing you're going to ask, if they haven't already said it, is when will you be making your decision? And they'll either tell you, Friday or whatever. And you'll say, and they'll either reply, well, we'll get a hold of you. And at that point, you'll say, well, if I don't hear from you, say it was Friday. And you could easily ask, would you mind if I don't hear from you by, say, Monday or Tuesday, at the close of Tuesday, could I give you a call to see what the status is? And they'll say, oh, sure. Then they're amenable to that. Make sure you call on that Tuesday. And when you said you were going to do it, and say, hey, just checking in. I said I was going to call. And if they push you off and they kind of brush you a little bit, there's your sign that you're not in the game anymore. So, if you're still in the game and they really haven't, because sometimes the hiring process, Michelle, is long and arduous, and there's multiple people who have to sign off on this thing, and they still may be talking about you or the other candidate. If they say, oh, geez, Glennis, this was, I'm really sorry, we're still in the deciding phase, blah, 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 and they sound really hep on it, you're good. You're still in. Don't call them again. They'll get a hold of you. Don't worry about it. You call them again, you're stalking them. They don't like it. And there was one other thing, and now I had slipped my mind. But, so those, if you haven't been in the game for a while and you're concerned on how you came across, I always say pony up and sit there and say at the end of all your questioning, say, do you mind me asking, how did I do? I'm in the interviewing process. If there's something I can improve upon, do it. If you're at all reticent about hearing the feedback and being able to not cry when they tell you something, don't ask. But if you can, sit there and take the constructive criticism, do so, because it'll just help you in the long run.
That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It also sets the tone for the type of employee that you're going to be, or, how open you're going to be to hear that constructive criticism, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
So I think that's a fabulous tool to give your applicants.
Mm-hmm.
I usually get, on the interviews I've been on, by myself. This is before I decided I need help and hired you, Angela.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a few other candidates we'd like to interview, and you'll be hearing from us either way. That's the typical ending. Is that a good ending, or you can walk away and say, no?
There are cues, some social cues that you could cue into. If I'm just listening to you say that, then I'm saying, yeah, pretty much no. But if you also have to remember that 9 times out of 10, the people that are interviewing you they themselves are not professional interviewers. So they're uncomfortable. If you're going to approach them for certain things, and like I said, some of them aren't professional, and they're uncomfortable. They've never done this. They know they need you in their department, but how do we get from there, point A to point B? Those are ones that might just say, we gotta see 5 more people. That's it. But others, you'll be able to know.
And Michelle, this is where you come in. Usually, in a company, a fairly good-sized company, Angela, you would maybe can vouch for this. You always, as the employee looking for the job, you always think that it's dependent on HR, that it's the HR person.
No. It's really the hiring managers who make the decision. HR just really stands in the back line to make sure that there are no, discriminatory factors, that they're making decisions based upon the needs of the company and the position that they're looking to fill. So HR is really about, helping the company to put together processes, train the people to what questions you can ask, what questions you can't ask, how do you ask a question that you shouldn't ask to get the answer that you want. So those are the types of things that HR really does, but HR really doesn't, in most organizations, I'm not going to say all, but most organizations does not have the final say. They just make it happen.
So, Angela.
Yes, Glennis.
Would you, in a company, it's usually the initial, right? Michelle, maybe I'm wrong, because I'm old school here, okay? Things have changed drastically in hiring nowadays. I see it with my own girls. We used to deal directly with HR would bring us in, the candidate in, and the HR person would then direct me to who I was going to be interviewing with.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Is that still the way it goes? Do you, Angela, deal with HR first?
Sometimes there is no HR department, and sometimes I'm dealing with the owners, or I'm dealing with the operations manager or somebody at that level who has that authorization. Sometimes HR, it could be a multitude of people, depending upon the size of the company. If you're going this alone, again, like I said, when you're looking at the ad, you're finding out if you're going to HR or if you're going to the direct person. You got to do your homework on that. But if you're working with a recruiter, you are essentially, for all intents and purposes, you're dealing with me first, and I deal with everybody else.
Okay, so I made it through the second interview.
Great.
They seemed interested.
Great.
They said, they would like to speak to another person.
Okay.
I'm in the running.
In the running.
You, as my recruiter, will you step in then and call them and say, how'd she do?
I call them at every step along the way. After first interview, when I send you initially to the client, I've sent a summary report. I've sent your resume. I've sent all the notes that I have on you. I've also done a first reference check, one person to verify, one work-related reference to verify your, work ethic and integrity and all of that, as well as a personality test to see, who you are. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? Are you, somebody that's going to be a good fit for that position? So I've done an incredible amount of homework before you even get there. So when you sit down in front of them, they know who you are. They've essentially sat with you for an hour. So
they've asked, they wouldn't, because they do know that I've been working with a recruiter.
Right. They're not going to talk to you again. They're going to deal with me, and then I speak with you.
So they're not going to ask me for references?
No, I'm going to do all that.
Ugh. I always hated that on my own, trying to, I have to contact all the people. That some of my references are no longer alive.
Boy, you are old as dirt. Good golly. Find the people that are alive. They really have a lot more to say.
But you as the recruiter, though, I don't have to worry about that so much.
No, I'm going to be doing that dirty work. However, if you're going in on alone, I always suggest that portfolio that you're going to bring those questions. Remember I talked about those? You're going to bring at least 5 clean copies of your resume, and you're going to bring along a reference sheet that has at least 3 professional and 3 character references, phone numbers. And again, like you had mentioned, you make sure that you've contacted these people and say, I am out there, and I need you to make sure that you answer your phone or check your email and speak well of me. Give them a $5 bill.
Interesting. Because in the old days, we used to just say references upon request.
Yeah, no. Have that in,
Have it ready.
have it in your arsenal there when they say, "Oh, well, you'll say, "Oh, and these are." Also bring copies of letters of recommendation so that, you can share your kudos. LinkedIn is now that
You just hit on that.
Yep.
That was my next question.
Yep.
The social media. LinkedIn. Hello, Angela. Please tell our listeners out there how important social media is to you as a candidate, because they are looking.
I'm going to tell you that, well, it'll be one and the same, is that...
No way. Go ahead.
We're getting the sign. LinkedIn is essentially is a resume. It was formulated by a recruiter. So on there, you're going to have all the kudos that you possibly can have as far as letters of recommendation. You want to make sure that your work history is, again, we're going to put the word in there, honest and true. And I'm checking LinkedIn for individuals that aren't even applying for jobs.
How can we get a hold of you? You are the best recruiter I have because I got the job.
Excellent. Thank you, Glennis. You can contact me at www.accuratenh.com or I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on email.
Terrific. Michelle, it's come to the end again. HR Synergies. We will see you next week. Angela, thank you so much for coming. I am Glennis. Thank you for joining us.